make sure that they're fully up to date on everything.
And I don't know if it's in frame right now, but this monster of a sprinkler that I will be taking home with me later.
Yeah, oh, it's mine. You can't have it.
Okay, sure. We'll see about that. Are you looking to maximize your cold storage space while reducing risk? The Quell fire sprinkler system from Tyco is a UL listed and FM approved fire sprinkler system that allows you to store commodities up to 55 feet high, 10 feet higher than other sprinkler systems. The Quell system is UL listed with the Tyco Ultra K17 sprinkler. Additionally, the sprinkler eliminates the costly false activations of damaged in-rack system thanks to its ceiling-only protection. It is offered globally under our licensed contractors under the Quell brand. In Australia and New Zealand, it's sold as Vanquish. These systems are available through trained and authorized fire sprinkler professionals only. Contact your Johnson Controls representative for details. To learn more, visit tyco-fire.com and search Quell.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah. Hey everybody, thanks for tuning into this episode of the Fire Sprinkler Podcast. We are in Orlando, Florida, AFSA 42. Melisa, how's it going today?
It's great. I haven't gone outside yet, so my hair hasn't started to frizz up from the humidity.
I highly recommend not stepping outside as a Canadian. It's hot at home right now, so when I came, like I said, I'm going to Florida, and then I looked up the temperatures, and I'm like, it's hotter at home than it is in Florida right now.
Yeah. Well, I'm in Minnesota, so that's like Canada light.
Right. Yeah. Just you're horizontal for me, pretty much.
Basically,
Yeah. So, give me a little bit of history of your involvement. We're going to be talking about the Quell systems in a little bit, but just kind of tell me a little bit about yourself in the industry.
Yeah, well, so I've been with Johnson Controls for a year and a half. Prior to that, I've been a fire protection engineer for about 17 years.
Okay.
I've done design with contracting, and then I worked at a manufacturer doing residential for about 7 years. But full consulting, specifying engineering, I did that. I loved it. But had the opportunity to go back to work in manufacturing, and that's really just kind of what I like to do. I like the thought of like being able to educate and teach and support customers, and so when they brought me on at Johnson Controls, I was initially managing the business development team. But a year ago they changed things around a little bit, and so now they put me in charge of our storage market from a vertical business development perspective.
Okay.
So that kind of meant that anything storage related became under almost my ownership.
Right.
So that did include Quell, and so
Keep going. I'm just going to make an adjustment. So your involvement, that's when your kind of involvement with Quell started almost immediately. Were you hired for that purpose?
No, I mean I've not really. Like they said you're going to be in charge of storage. We didn't really know what that was going to mean at first, since it was a new role.
Right.
And I kind of just been doing what I thought was right, and as I got to know Quell more and more. And I started kind of being a point of contact for some of our customers, and I realized, they hadn't had somebody in a position to just sort of have a big picture management of our Quell in a long time. We've had this system for a while now, and it's great. Our installers that are doing our Quell systems, they love it. The HJs love it.
Yep.
You can put ceiling only and cold storage. I mean, that's huge.
Absolutely.
So I saw an opportunity to really get in and get to know Quell and do kind of a review of it as a big picture, and maybe see where we can make some improvements. So I'll be working with a lot of our customers right now and making sure that they've got all the most recent data sheets and make sure that they're fully up to date on everything.
And I don't know if it's in frame right now, but this monster of a sprinkler that I will be taking home with me later.
Yeah, oh, it's mine. You can't have it.
Okay, sure. We'll see about that. This big monster of a sprinkler is one of the sprinklers that are used in the Quell systems right now.
Yes.
How many different types of sprinklers are able to be used in a Quell system?
There's 2 specific sprinklers for Quell.
Yep.
And so they are manufactured only for the Quell system. And so then you can only purchase those sprinklers if you are one of the Quell licensed installers.
So the Quell license is a specific license that you have. Only Quell licensed systems can
buy the sprinkler.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's 2. There's a K17, and then this is the K34.
Okay.
As you know, we also have the K34, in a pendant application. That's for ambient storage. But they created this upright for Quell specifically, and you can tell obviously there's a blue bulb, which means it's 286.
Yep.
And it's a big bulb, so it's standard response.
Yes.
And those are for some pretty specific reasons for how the Quell system does what it does.
Right.
Which we can talk about that a little bit, but yeah, it's when you become a licensed Quell installer, you are able to purchase these sprinklers, and it's direct sale. So
How does distribution know who's licensed? Like what stops me from going to any of my JCI suppliers and just saying, hey, I want to buy, 14, 15 of these?
every order that comes through that has these sprinklers, it's a Quell. They have a specific tag. They have to go through one person in inside sales, and the orders are not released until they're approved by that inside sales. So he has an up-to-date list of all of our licensed contractors, and so yeah.
How far into that kind of, once you become licensed, are you able to purchase any material Quell related, or do you guys still? Because are you guys? How many of these systems are going in on a day-to-day basis? Highly specialized? Are they?
I just was looking at a list the other day. I had somebody run a list for me of Quell systems, and it was just in one state, and I would say there was 20 or so in the last year. No, I think actually it was a longer period than that. But that was just in the state of North Carolina.
Sure, yeah.
So yeah, these are going in all over the place. The ones that, the contractors that we have that are doing a large volume of these, they're pretty steady work.
Okay.
Storage as a whole saw a huge spike with COVID, because everybody was, they needed to have more distribution for all the stuff that people were buying on Amazon and shipping home and all that stuff. So that market has kind of leveled off, but we don't see a reduction quite yet in cold storage applications. So this is kind of just ongoing. It's a very robust market, and there's always striving for better ways to have protection in cold storage applications. We always want to be able to store taller and try to have narrower aisles, so
try to get your money's worth per square foot.
Exactly.
Is what the name of the
cram
game
as
is.
much in as you can.
So with the Quell system, so JCI does not review design to design. Every time a system comes in, you're not verifying the design.
No.
Once you become a Quell qualified contractor, you're in.
You're in, and they have to. There's a lot of safety factors, and there's pretty robust time delivery calculation that if you have a big enough safety, you don't have to do a trip test.
Oh.
So that's kind of one of the really big benefits. There's a software license that goes with the Quell that it's so FDT is the fluid delivery calculation software. FDTQ is specifically for Quell, because there's an additional component to the design methodology where you have your first four sprinklers that operate sequentially at a certain time delay. So we don't want any sprinklers to discharge water for at least 8 seconds.
Oh.
But then they have to get there within the 20 or so seconds. So you've got a really tight window of water delivery, and that's one of the main reasons that it's you have to be able to calc it down to the elbow. And when it's installed, if you make any changes, you kind of have to go back and make sure. But if you have a safety factor of, I want to say it's 20%, you don't have to do the trip test if according to our design methodology.
So what's involved? Like if I'm starting out as a contractor, I'm doing a lot of storage applications, and I want to get into the Quell market. What's involved with becoming a Quell specified contractor?
You'd reach out, you'd show that interest. We do definitely have a process where we evaluate the customer or the contractor. What we look for in Quell licensees is partnerships. We do a lot of support for our Quell contractors, from technical support. Our training department, we retrain our contractors every 3 years to make sure that anything that's changed on our data sheets, any new technologies, we make sure that they're fully up to date. So there's a lot of support on our end that goes with it. So the first thing we do is we want to make sure they're going to be a partner. If somebody just wants to win one Quell job and that's it, it's going to be a one-off. It's a lot of investment for a little reward. So we look for that. We want to make sure we got good geographical coverage. We've got some installers that really do a lot of Quell work, and they kind of want to make sure that we're not going to saturate the market with contractors that can install Quell systems. But
once you become into such a niche market like the Quell systems for high piled storage, cold environments, things like that. The reason you would become a qualified Quell contractor is so that you can kind of funnel those projects to you.
yeah.
And if you have 15, 20 contractors in the area, you might as well just be a regular contractor at that
Yeah.
point, right?
Yeah.
There's no benefit.
And it's one of those things where if you're just doing once in a while, you want to make sure that whoever is doing it is very familiar with the software and very familiar with the system methodology, because if you're only doing them like once every couple months, it's easy to kind of forget some of the nuances that you have to remember when it comes to the design method.
So when you qualify a contractor, is that contractor specific? Do you train each individual designer? Do the licenses attach themselves to the designers, or how does that work for that?
Yeah, I don't know exactly. I want to say, they pay for so many seats.
Right.
And so, however many people are going to be working in the program and doing design, they are trained.
Yep.
So we'll have a class. Sometimes they'll come out to our facility in Cranston and they can do it in person.
Okay.
We can also do it virtually, which is a nice, feature.
Absolutely, do it from the comfort of your own home. Yeah.
Sometimes I think we even maybe can go to the contractor and do the trainings.
Depending on the size, I'm sure.
Yeah, depending on the size.
So, listings. Why would I use a Quell system as opposed to any other type of sprinkler system out there? Dry, pre-action, etc. Like, why would I use a Quell system?
So we said, the main thing about Quell is it's ceiling-only protection in scenarios where you would not otherwise be able to do so. There just isn't design criteria in NFPA 13 or FM that allows for that.
Okay.
We did a series of full-scale fire tests to validate this performance-based design method, and so we have a lot of data to back up that why it works and why it works so well.
Right.
So all of the components that are used have either UL or FM listing approvals. So the big thing though is the sprinkler. This is the only sprinkler that at this high temp.
Yep.
Upright, standard response. And like I said, that there's a lot of specific reasons for why we use this, because you want to make sure that the sprinkler doesn't operate too soon.
Okay, explain that a little bit, because you mentioned it earlier and I kind of caught it and was like, okay, that's weird. Why in most sprinkler systems do you want early activation and fast kind of, is it to allow the encapsulation of the fire?
Pretty much. So in, say you're looking at a standard high pile storage facility and, regular ceiling protection where, say you're able to do that in an ambient situation. What happens often when you have those fire plumes, we've all seen the live fire videos, you get those huge fire plumes and the heat jet carries across the ceiling.
Right.
And what ends up happening, if it's a wet system, the first couple sprinklers activate and that hot air will carry the droplets across and actually cool some of the immediately adjacent sprinklers.
Okay.
So it could potentially cold solder. Yep. And then also that heat jet is carrying the heat across to sprinklers that are outside of the most effective ring. You want to make sure that you've got a concentrated ring of sprinklers that are right over the fire. You get the surround and drown kind of method.
Absolutely.
So the reason that the delay is important is that we give the fire enough time to operate kind of an ideal number of preliminary sprinklers. And what also goes into it being a double interlock pre-action is there's heat detection as well at a lower temp. As soon as it detects heat, not only are we validating that it is in fact a fire and not just an accidental head activation, that detection starts a series of events to help, even though we're delaying water delivery, we also want to have it happen quickly.
Once it's time to put the water on the fire, we want that fire fast.
The detection will pre-start the fire pump so that you don't have that delay in waiting for the fire pump to get up to speed. It will also shut down any HVAC that's in the area, which is another thing that, again, you want to make sure that you don't have air movement that is going to impact what we're trying to do.
Spray patterns and stuff like that,
Like I said, we're trying to get this ideal ring of sprinklers. And so what we actually have with Quell is we have a similar performance as you would in an ambient wet system with a dry pre-action system. With the number of sprinklers that are being activated, it is equivalent to the performance of a non-dry system.
So when a contractor is getting certified, do you require them to be responsible for the fire alarm aspect, from the releasing panel, turning on the fire pump, the heat the heat sensing devices, things like that, is it all one contractor, or do you have a fire alarm set of contractors that are certified as well as a sprinkler installation contractor?
We don't have separate contracts with fire alarm,
Okay.
so it is all through the licensee. Whether that means though that they still have to subcontract, because there's always going to be a little bit of that, like, hey, stay in your lane. This is fire alarms.
Yes. Yeah.
But so yeah, it is a package.
Infighting within the industry a little bit.
Maybe, but like our
Never heard of
contractors
it.
order all of it, so
Yeah.
they are trained to install the whole system. So like when they place an order, we also carry through via, it's a pass through. We recommend a specific brand of linear heat detection.
Yep.
You can use other types of heat detection, but we just, what we've tested it with and what we recommend is, specific. It's through Safe Signal, but you can use others like Protect-A-Wire, and
Yep.
you could use aspirating detection. You could just
Yep.
anything to make sure that you've got those two methods of detection. The sprinkler obviously releasing the the air in the system, and then something to verify that there's a fire
Actually
and get
is a
that
fire,
get the
yeah.
rest of the things in motion.
So massive sprinkler, 1.25 inch thread on this. What's the water that you're getting out of this on a typical? I know it's not a typical type of system, but how much water are you discharging out of one of these sprinklers?
So the K34 will discharge. If you think about it, it's over 200 gallons a
Yeah.
minute. It's just a massive amount of water. This is a relatively new addition to the Quell line. It started with the K17s. In K17s, we had it tested to do up to a class 3 commodity, but up to 55 feet. Which, like 55-foot building, 50 foot of storage, I should clarify.
Yeah.
Which is, that's, I'm sorry.
No in-wrap.
I'm getting it backwards. This is the 55 feet.
Sure. Yeah, I was going to say
Case-
that's a ton of water.
K17
Yeah.
is it's lower, but it's class 3. The other great thing about the 34, though, is we can do Group A plastics with up to 35 feet, 30 feet of storage.
Wow.
That wasn't possible with the K17, but we has this tested for the plastics.
Yep.
The other systems, the 17 at the lower elevations, but class 3, and then the 34, 55 feet. Like this, that's the one that nothing else can do right now is
Right.
that high of storage with ceiling only.
So with it being an upright, obviously massive amounts of water coming through the sprinkler. What kind of limitations do you have as far as pipe size to be installed on? Like, is it a standard 2.5 inch, 3 inch pipe? That one I threw you for a curveball. That one I
No.
kind of thought of when I was looking at it. I'm like, your piping with it being on the top here, I'm looking at it 250 gallons a minute times potentially 2 to 3 sprinklers on a single line. You got to be looking at a 4 inch line minimum.
So, the system size is pretty small. So that's what you're looking at.
Right, you're not doing long warehouses with extended lengths of
Right,
pipe.
yeah, we're looking at maybe, you can still see a volume of like 2,000 gallons for one valve assembly, one riser, So that's kind of part of it too, is when you're doing the design, you're able to make sure you have the right number of risers and number of riser rooms. But so I know that this can be direct installed into, I want to say it's 2 inch before you have to worry about, putting it on a sprig. I would say like a 2 inch branch line is
Average?
probably typical, yeah.
Wow. That's surprising. That
Yeah. You can definitely go bigger. Again, there's a lot of factors. There's
Sure,
obviously
yeah,
things
it's
that go into
hydraulics.
it.
Yeah. How come you can't tell me how to design the entire system in this little podcast?
I don't know. Yeah, we can get into it.
Congratulations, you're certified. Awesome. Melisa, thanks for coming on and talking about the Quell systems. I really thank you for allowing me to take this one home.
That's mine.
I'm not taking it home. And we'll see you again soon. Is there anything else that you wanted to touch on with the Quell systems? If somebody wants more information on becoming a Quell contractor, how do they get a hold of you?
It's melisa.rodriguez@jci.com is my email.
Okay.
You can definitely reach out. It's Melisa is Melisa.
Yep.
Rodriguez ends with a Z. If you can get that right, you can find me.
Absolutely. And I'm sure you're pretty prevalent out on LinkedIn and stuff like that. And I'm sure they can go through the website,
Yeah.
JCI. to
LinkedIn
find,
is a great way to get in touch. I've had plenty of people reach out to me that way.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on the podcast and talking about Quell.
Thank you. Always fun.
Hey everybody, I wanted to take a second to thank everybody for supporting the Fire Sprinkler podcast over the past 5 years. This has been an absolute ride to be able to travel the amount that I've traveled, to talk to the people that I've talked to be able to get the information in this industry out there and essentially help create a new wave of content for fire protection. So just a huge thank you to everybody for supporting. I hope you're still enjoying it. Anybody who's still listening, thank you.